Hi, I'm Flip Padot. Welcome to Old Bull TV, your insider's guide to political prediction markets. Today we're delving into the bowels of the popular prediction market PredictIt to hunt for bargains far away from the glitzy front page markets like the Democratic nomination and Trump's Twitter feed. Where liquidity is limited and trade volumes are low, sometimes you can find intriguingly mispriced contracts, and that is our mandate today. We're highlighting not one, not two, but three unloved and overlooked markets that might just offer outsized gains to a discriminating, discerning trader like you. In the interest of full disclosure, we have no positions in any of these highlighted markets, and this analysis is presented for informational purposes only, so please do not construe it as investment advice, and be sure to do your own research before executing any trades. Now, let's shoot the bull. First up is whether Trump will grant clemency, defined either as a full pardon or a sentence commutation, to his former national security advisor Michael Flynn during his first term. This market, currently priced at 41 cents, has been live since February but never attracted much volume. It's perked up briefly last week as Flynn's lawyers sought to withdraw his 2017 guilty plea on charges he lied to the FBI in connection with Robert Mueller's investigation, in light of new documents that Flynn argues shows the FBI sought to entrap him. Trump has signaled pretty clearly that he's inclined to pardon Flynn and has tweeted or retweeted in support of his defense dozens of times just in the last couple of weeks. Now, the prosecutors are expected to respond to Flynn's motion next week, with the judge, who's been relatively unsympathetic to Flynn up to this point, to make a ruling thereafter. So this market likely resolves in the affirmative if the judge denies Flynn, or possibly even if things just grind forward without judicial resolution slowly enough as to displease the president. Now, even though the documents are pretty titillating, with one handwritten FBI note asking, "What's our goal? Truth/admission, or to get him to lie so we can prosecute him or get him fired?" The judge's track record and the consensus among legal experts being lined up by most media reporting suggest the odds are against Flynn here, which would mean his odds of being pardoned or his sentence commuted by Trump should be pretty good. Not a lock by any means, but this one not only feels awfully cheap at 41 cents, but it has a very short-term catalyst. Not to say Trump will pardon Flynn next week, but an adverse ruling from the judge could send the price much higher very soon. Our next refugee from the island of misfit markets is whether Biden will drop out this month. We flagged this yesterday when it launched as being an interesting play despite the end date seemingly set a bit too early. The pricing and the interest among traders might be a little higher if the timing were a little closer to the convention. But at just 5 cents, you really can't ignore this one, especially given that one of the only stories to occasionally elbow past the total media hog that is the coronavirus are stories about supposed Democratic hand-wringing over their handsy, forgetful, basement-bound nominee. That doesn't mean Biden will actually implode or bow out, ever, much less within the next few weeks, but a nickel is just too cheap. PredictIt traders love a long shot bet, famously and irrationally so, but they haven't really warmed up to this one yet. But there's enough ink being spilled on conceivably bid-ending allegations at the moment that if and when another shoe drops, this 5 cents can become 10 or 15 in a big hurry. It might not stay there long, so if you do get into this market, you want to watch it very closely for strategic exit points. But once this one starts to get noticed, even just by more wild hair and indulging conspiratorial fringes, I'd expect to see its price find an equilibrium at least a little higher, at least for a little while. Again, this one resolves really soon, and by default, it resolves as no. In a couple of weeks, the theta on this position, or the rate at which it loses value as it approaches maturity, will begin to eat away at your portfolio value very quickly. So if you're playing this one, it's to jump in, to watch for particularly salacious headlines or on-camera gaffery by Mr. Biden, and try to hop back out on a nice bump. And finally, let's look at the gender of Trump's next Supreme Court pick. This market on whether his next nominee is a woman has been around for a while, but volume has fallen to almost negligible levels. There is, of course, one really big risk to this one resolving in the affirmative, and that's the risk that Trump doesn't get another pick in the first place. But that risk is pretty easily quantified, as he's trading at or slightly below 50% to be reelected, and the odds of his getting at least one more pick in a second term are very high. And the odds that he would pick a woman were he to have another pick are quite high too. In fact, the overwhelming long-term favorite for this market is one specific woman, Amy Barrett, who accounts for most of those 30 cents herself. Now, particularly if Ginsburg winds up creating the next vacancy, this one panning out gender-wise seems like a good bet. So in other words, this market can be viewed as an overlooked higher return proxy market for Trump's re-election itself. Its low volume and perhaps its improper pricing could be due in part to the fact that it has an unknown and possibly very long-dated expiry, stretching potentially multiple years. But there is, of course, a knowable, much shorter-term catalyst for doubling, if not more, by Election Day should Trump prevail, with, of course, the added possibility of an even larger and earlier return if a surprise vacancy were to occur at some point this year. A sudden departure from the court could, of course, occur at any time, and Trump does still have more than 8 months left in his first term. Also note this market does not require confirmation of the nominee, so there is little risk of a Merrick Garland-style situation or COVID-driven delays of confirmation hearings. So to recap, buying yes on Flynn clemency in the low 40s gives you a shot at a nice upside move within a week or so if the judge in that case denies Flynn's motion. Buying yes on Biden withdrawing before June 1st is a white-knuckled way to ride scandal-making headlines into a possible quick bump, at which point you exit the position on the bump caused by traders following you into this overlooked market. And buying yes on Trump nominating a woman to the Supreme Court is a potentially more profitable proxy market for Trump winning re-election, with a free option on an unexpected court vacancy occurring this year. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel before you go and connect with us on Twitter at OldBullTV. Good luck, happy trading, and thank you for watching.